YGO Strat Single Card Discussions is going to be talking about some of the cards that have impacted Yu-Gi-Oh! Throughout the years. Today's card, the hand trap to define Power Creep, Ash Blossom, and Joyous Spring. Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, or just Ash for short, was first released in Maximum Crisis in May of 2017. Notable reprints include the Legendary Collection Kaiba Mega Pack in 2018, the Soul Burner Structure Deck in 2019, the Dual Devastator Box in 2019, and Maximum Gold in 2020. As of this video, it has spent no time on the ban list, much to the dismay of many dueling book legends as the kind of people that post things like this. A level 3 fire attribute zombie type tuner monster with 0 attack and 1800 defense, its effect reads: when a card or effect is activated that includes any of these effects, quick effect, you can discard this card, negate that effect. Add a card from the deck to the hand, special summon from the deck, send a card from deck to graveyard. You can only use this effect of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring once per turn. Yeah, like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, this card is kinda just the definition of power creep, at least it is to me. Hand traps have technically been a thing in Yu-Gi-Oh! Since Karibo was printed in Metal Raiders back in like 2002, and they became usable in the meta with cards like Effect Veiler and Maxi in 2010 and 2011 respectively, but none hit quite so many cards or could impact a duel in the way that Ash Blossom does. Now, I'm not sure just how many cards this walking forehead stops, but for reference, as of this video, there are currently 1,741 cards that include add a card from deck to the hand in the text, 871 cards that special summon a monster from the deck, and 363 cards that send a card from deck to the graveyard. Now, Ash Blossom can't stop all of them. For example, Dante or Abyssalacia have effects that send from the deck to the graveyard as part of the cost, which is not something that can be stopped by Ash Blossom. But even if you cut all of these numbers in half, you're still looking at about 1,500 cards that can be negated by Ash. And if you're wondering why Ash can't stop an effect like Dante's, it's because it mills for cost. A quick explanation, Ash negates the effects that send or summon or add. In the case of Dante, it mills 1 to 3 cards as the cost because the effect for Dante is to gain attack. So even if you effect Veiler Dante, it still mills it. You can Veiler it, you can imperm it, they still mill, just Dante stays at 1,000 attack. Ash can't. Don't try to Ash the Dante. You will be laughed at, just don't do it. And it's not just that Ash Blossom can stop the effects of so many cards, it's that the effects it stops are so prominent in the game. Consistency is king in Yu-Gi-Oh! And it's why in formats like Zodiac in 2017, a deck like Zoo, whose power card was a targeted pop, was the strongest deck over something like True King Dinosaur, which could end on a board of, Book of Eclipse, VFD, and a counter trap Omni Negate that when resolved would ultimately float into another Omni Negate. But still, Zoo could get that one quick effect pop on board with way less trouble and through more disruption than dinosaurs could build their boards, and because that was more reliable, it made it the stronger deck. That and Fusion Substitute Zoo drew like 4 extra cards throughout its combos, but I mean, technically that's just adding to the consistency, so a point in my favor. If you need proof that this card is power creep defined, I recommend you check out Lithium 2300's Cross Banlist Cup. Some of his old ones from previous years have matchups where a deck from even as late as 2015 or 2016 will be hit by an Ash Blossom and struggle hard because of it. The fact of the matter is, a lot of decks have choke points, and Ash can hit a lot of those choke points. Most good decks have a Stratos equivalent. A lot of good decks can use the graveyard like a second hand of sorts, and a lot of good decks summon from the deck to keep their plays going. All things that Ash stops. Ash is also a hand trap that doesn't need to hit the graveyard to resolve, unlike something like Effect Veiler. So under Macrocosmos or Dimension Shifter, doesn't matter. It doesn't prevent Ash from activating. It is not all doom and gloom, however, as Ash Blossom is a when effect, which means that you can miss the opportunity to use it. Chain blocking is something that has become more important since Ash's release, with current meta decks as of this video, like Sword Soul or Fluanderies, stacking their effects in sequence to make sure that key plays resolve when players need them to. Personally, I really like this. I think it keeps the game interesting, in the sense that Ash is never the absolute best hand trap in all circumstances. Effect Veiler or Infinite Impermanence can stop monster effects even if they're buried in chain, and sometimes Ghost Ogre destroying the card is more impactful than just negating it, in the case of a lot of field spells. Ash Blossom is definitely a contentious card, especially for newer or returning players. When it was first revealed, I remember a lot of comments like this one. If you aren't a fan of the hand trap meta, it's definitely a card on your shit list, and even I hate how expensive the card remains despite multiple reprints. Don't get me wrong, I understand good cards cost more money, but $60 for a playset of commons? Come on. And that's before Common Charity was a format. Like, come on. Still, the cards adds an element of mind games and strategy to the game, and using Ash Blossom to bait an opponent's Appaloosa and then chaining Nibiru to wipe their entire field is a hell of a play. Oh, and chaining Ash to Desire so they banish 10 cards for nothing, always hilarious. 12 out of 10 comedy in this game. Overall, Ash Blossom is one of the strongest and most reliable hand traps. Even if it isn't always the meta pick, it's one that I feel is going to remain in the meta for years to come regardless. You know, until the dreaded Sky Striker quick play that's Ash Blossom and also Nibiru that you can activate from the hand, because Konami just loves giving that deck way too much good support, apparently. Whatever. That's our look at single card discussions, Ash Blossom, and Joyous Spring. Stay tuned for our next video and feel free to suggest some cards to review or what type of video you'd like to see. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time on YGO Strats.